Yes, sir. And welcome back to another episode of The Card is Going to Change, AIW, Absolute Intense Wrestling's podcast that comes to you each and every Monday. We couldn't do this without our sponsors, so let's give a shout out to Angelo's Pizza. Every show you can get Angelo's Pizza, located on Madison Avenue in beautiful Lakewood, Ohio. I got hit by a pizza box of Angelo's once, but still shout out to Angelo's. Pepperoni pizza is the best. Another sponsor we got to give a shout out to, Smart Mark Video. Get all your favorite AIW. Other company, can I say them? Chikara, A something. You want me to cut that part? Let me read that.
I don't care.
Smart Mark Video. Shout out to Gary Robles Burns. Thank you guys for recording all our videos, and you can get all your past videos.
No shout out to Ivan.
Shout out to Ivan.
Shannon.
Shout out to Shannon for sure.
Jordan.
The whole squad.
The other guy, I don't
Smart
know.
Mark Video. Check out all past AIW releases, including Keep Their Heads Ringing, Absolution, and most lately, Wrestle Rager. Is it out yet?
It should be out by now.
It should be out now.
We were
Okay,
just
cool.
talking about that when you got here.
There it is. Wrestle Rager. Hopefully it's soon. And last but not least, shout out to independentwrestling.tv for all your favorite live streaming events for past only the best AIW shows, including Wrestle. I'm not doing the best of the ads. I'm sorry, everybody. Independent Wrestling TV. Use code ABSOLUTE for 20 days?
Free.
20 days free? Are you kidding me? Talk about a deal and a half.
You got to get in your shill mode, bro.
I know. I'm starting off hot. This is a new role for me. I usually get, introduced in, but back to shill mode. Independentwrestling.tv. Get on there. Check out Beyond Wrestling. Thursday, Uncharted Territory. My man, what is this, last week probably? Joshua Bishop tore Tony Deppen up. He beat the beep out of him. Use Absolute for 20 days free. And check it out.
All right, now what?
That wasn't the best ad. No, we're live.
To tape.
Yep. Monday. AIW, The Card is Going to Change podcast. I'm Maserati West Barkley and talking in third person. I'm joined to my left, Jonathan Thorne, the boss, AIW.
You almost called me Jonathan, bro.
I almost did. I was
It's not my name.
It's not Jonathan.
I know, it's
just
not.
John.
I don't. That's why I had to cut myself. Let me redo
It's a big misconception, bro.
Yeah. All right, well, there it is. They know it now. Yeah. To my right, I got Ronnie Double Deuce, a.k.a. Ronald Two Legs.
Yo.
And straight ahead of me, I got Thriftstore Jobber.
Hello.
There it is. Not the best intro. I'm sorry, guys, but, this is a new role for me. At the end of the day, they do call me # Jack of all trades.
It's true.
Well, on this episode, we, old Ronald Two Legs has been a longtime subscriber to the Patreon, and we owe him his personal episode in which he could do whatever he wants.
Yes, sir.
And he invited you to his house. He invited me to his house. He invited the Thrift Store Jobber. He bought enough ads in the early days that he earned a spot on this podcast for sure.
I'll take it.
For sure. And we're just going to kind of have a conversation, fans' perspective versus, I guess,
employees.
Yeah. Independent contractors, brother.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you no health insurance.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Pod Van Dam Takeover episode, minus Ed because he's unbearable sometimes.
He's at a con somewhere, I'm assuming,
What's
right?
his story?
I invited him. Yeah, I
Is
think
that the
he's
line?
at.
What's his story?
He's at
What's
some
the
sort of
story?
convention. I don't know which
He
one.
would have showed up 5 hours late anyway.
Oh, jeez.
When I did their podcast, he showed up fucking 3 hours late.
I was like a half hour late. That's on me. It was early.
I showed up late, and he was even 3 hours later than me.
Every time John tells a story, it's a different amount of time of hours that Ed was.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
He'll appreciate that when he listens to this.
Dude, I was kind of nervous doing that intro. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry. I just got to spit that out.
Well,
You're the guy in charge now, huh?
we're through it.
Yes, I'm the moderator, brother.
No, we just figured,
Yeah,
like it
we'll
would
switch
be
it up.
It would be a nice kind of change of pace to just have kind of two people from this side of the business and you guys from the other side of the rail to kind of get your perspective on things and your views on AIW and, whatever you guys want to know. It's kind of like an open book. And, Wes Barkley is always a fast talker. So
Yes, sir.
Like I was saying, me and Brian been sitting front row for what, like almost the better part of 3 years now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess if there was anybody to be on that was on the front lines of things fan wise, I guess it's us, right?
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
the loud
For sure.
fucking mouths you hear if you watch Smart Mark videos back or any of the fight streams. We're the loud idiots you hear and see.
Yeah, if you watch some of the 2015 shows from Mount Carmel, I have some really embarrassing moments.
Don't know.
I know. Yeah, I know. For instance, I might have interrupted the Missy Hyatt Dick Justice wedding at one point, but
I almost, when I heard you're coming over, I almost decided to surprise you and have like a thrift store jobber versus Duke debate.
wait, I hope that happens.
Would you?
That'd be good.
Are you really going to invite Duke to my house without my prior knowledge?
I was
'Cause
thinking
that's
about
like
it.
some
I was
weird-
thinking about it.
Dude,
Wow.
money.
I like Pete, but jeez.
Oh, Pete, real names. Oh, he's getting hot. He's getting hot.
Duke money.
He gets hot about that. Yeah. So, Ronald Two Legs, probably most famous for La Parka throwing the ring bell at him at Hell on Earth last year.
Is that why? And that's why people know who I am?
Well, I mean, I think that's your
Scary
most.
Skeleton Man got mad
That's
at me.
my dude. I had to ask.
I think that's your most famous crowd moment.
Oh, jeez. I guess that's good then, because it wasn't even really that bad. I didn't do anything too bad. I mean, that's what.
You're not really that infamous in the crowd,
Well, right.
like-
I mean, I follow the rules, right? I don't do anything.
Thrift store
that bad.
jobber, he'll show up in a Stone Cold vest every now and then and
Shirtless,
get wild.
like topless vest only. Yeah.
I've had my share of moments. I'm pretty subdued these days, but
When that
I've
vest is on, though, you know it's going down.
Yeah, the vest is.
I only wear that to outdoor shows.
Hey.
Vest is all bets are off.
The first time he did that, he goes. Well, we were getting ready to go to Wrestle Rager, and he had the guitar, the one that this Machine Kills Fascist guitar. That was Thrift Store's guitar that he brought to hit.
There's a lot of guitars.
There was a lot of
that
guitars at Wrestle Rager 3, I think it
Yeah.
was, right? But
Deathmatch
he goes-
Jamboree.
He goes,
Classic.
we were talking about, like, what are you going to wear, this or that, and somehow the vest got brought up, and I'm like, you won't do it. And he's like, is that a real statement? I'll wear, of course I will. And it wasn't even like...
Is that an authentic Stone Cold vest or is it a
So
duplication?
that is an authentic WWF vest. So the story behind that was I was actually driving to I was driving to Jersey to go to that Oneida CCW show. And I stopped in Pittsburgh at a flea market and I found that. And Mike from Virtual Pros dared me to wear that into the show. So I did. And yeah, from there just had to be a Wrestle Rager thing. And yeah, every year that's the outfit. I'm not a cosplayer, but I mean, if you're going to be outside.
The story got told, and I was like, oh, you won't do that for Wrestle Rager. And he didn't even bat an eye. I was like, yes, it's going to be 90 degrees. Of course I will. And
It's a
then
good
he
look
wore
for-
it. And
Yeah.
he had to do it last year because we were like, well, that was so great the first time.
It's
You
a
have
good
to.
look for
That's
Russell Rager. Yeah, so I did Mr. Two Legs podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah, thanks again.
And we had a pretty good conversation, and I kind of liked the perspective that was coming from you guys, because like it's easy for me to kind of live in this bubble where I only see what I want to see, and
Yeah.
I don't I don't really need to venture out of that bubble, but I think it's necessary to continue what I feel is becoming almost like the golden age of AIW, where we've developed this strong bond with the fans, and it's continuing to grow. So I really liked, I've hesitated about doing podcasts because it's just it's hard enough to do this one, but I really enjoyed my experience on Pod Van Dam. So I thought that this would be kind of a perfect, a perfect way to kind of, bring you guys on, and, maybe we can get some of that same kind of chemistry and feedback, because there's only so many things that I can read on Twitter or something, you know what I mean, and
Right.
figure out what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, we try to have a pretty good time over there and not keep it real serious, but you can only do so much, I guess, with a podcast. I don't know. It's hard. Ed's not here. I try not to speak for all of us, but he's a weird guy. You don't. How do you feel about that guy? What in his deal?
I just want to know what the guy's fucking deal is.
Should we
because-
call him right now?
No, I don't want to call him. I don't want to talk to him. He's not here. I don't want to talk to him.
But yeah, as far as you're saying, with your world and our world, I guess it's fun to sit across from you and kind of ask you hey, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? But not be like that guy per se.
I think we also have a little bit different perspective than a lot of fans in the sense that we're kind of realistic about how the wrestling business works and how
Right.
things
I
go in
guess
the ring. You know, we've been going to shows long enough, and you know, we've kind of become friendly with you guys and a lot of the other, you know, regular roster members. And you know, I think, you know, it's a different perspective, but at the same time, like, you know, we love and respect the product, and we like to see you
some
guys
people
grow.
have, like, they have like really unrealistic like requests or like suggestions.
John Moxley, dude. You can get Mox.
Yeah, and it's just like some people don't know like just the ins and outs of like how much like a John Moxley thing. I sent that fucking Hotmail I had a fucking email, and he did not write back. And I confirmed that like, hey, like I hit up Smartmark Video and I was like, hey, like where do you like what PayPal do you use to send him the payments for his Best of the Indies? And
There's only so much you can do.
it was the same Hotmail I had, so like he didn't write back.
I guess to try and stay.
I guess he didn't
current.
like his fucking losing to Jason Gorey at a fucking Avenue Tap House in Lakewood.
Like, how hard is it to not like? How hard is it to like on that point? Like, how hard is it to tiptoe that line of like trying to get relevant stuff like that, but not be corny at the same time and just book the same jabronis that everyone's booking? Like, oh, this jabroni A is free now. He's gonna do his little run. Like, how do you make it AIW? Because you always do a good job of like making it AIW friendly. Like you just talked about Sekimoto did a little run, but you did versus KTB, and a lot of people were saying like that was one of the best matches of that little run, and like you have a good way of like making it an AIW like
Spice flavored.
yeah, like
For sure.
You know, it's just like, well, now I don't think anyone's gonna be doing any runs with how the business is right
Yeah.
now.
I want
Like,
one right now, dude.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
like I think if like anybody
offended, brother.
I think if anybody lives in WWE, they're going to AEW or they're going to NWA or they're going to Ring of Honor or whatever the fuck, you know, Impact. Like, I think like the indies are going to kind of miss out on stuff like that.
okay.
But, you know, I just kind of like, I don't know, like I think of a way to make it make sense to where it's like not forced. Like now, like, and this probably sounds bad, maybe speaking to fans, but like now if like a guy does PWG, I'm just like, I don't really want to book that guy because like he's going to get more offers. I can't have him consistently. I can maybe have this guy come in once and like he'll do good, but then it's like, where do you go from there, you know? And like,
I don't even know if they're the benchmark anymore, though, as far as that's concerned. Like they've been kind of cold for the most part the last couple of
It's
years.
just a regional thing as anymore,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
I mean,
PWG is
like
just
some
that
people
area.
do still consider it the benchmark, and it's like, you know, it's just kind of like, I don't know what the benchmark is. I don't really look for the benchmark anymore. I look for like,
I don't think there is one, to be honest. I think yeah.
Who knows?
so like AJ Gray did Beyond Uncharted Territory a couple weeks ago, and like I hit him up and I was just like, hey man, like it's cool that you're getting a lot of love tonight, you know. And I was like, the one thing that you have to remember is like there's no lottery ticket promotion anymore. You know, it's all about what you're gonna do in the next town. And it's more about the consistency and the body of work versus, you know, back in the day, like if you did IWA Mid-South, you were like a made man or like, you know, something like that. Or like you got like a dark match on Ring of Honor. It was like, oh my God, like this is like a big deal. Now, like there's just so many promotions that operate at a high level. It's just the expectation that everyone should be pretty good at this point.
Yeah.
And it's more about like, okay, like what are you going to do next weekend? Because 37 great matches already happened this Saturday. And, you know, I tell that to a lot of the students too. And
You said that day one to ours, you know what I mean? You said you could do PWG, but you got to go to your shoot job a month.
yeah, like you still got to go to work on Monday. Like nothing's life-changing anymore. It's just more about like the body of work that you do. So like I more look at it as like, you know, we have this crew of guys, you know, for better or for worse. And it's like, I don't look at it like, who can I book? I look at it as like, how do I put this puzzle together of like, I try to use the same pieces.
It's a long list of pieces too.
For the-
As that
yeah.
tweet, I forget what the viral tweet was. That everyone's saying like, name your roster, blah blah. Or what was the fucking tweet?
It was like-
Indies were worried or something in AIW, and then they list the roster.
And it was like not even close to everybody.
yeah,
you know?
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even everyone that you booked too.
And it's like, I more look at it as like, okay, how can I move these pieces around to try to keep as many of these guys that are on every show, and then like, yeah, like obviously you want to try to mix in some like weird ass thing if you can, and it makes sense. Like that's what is so special about J-Lit is like I can reserve like 3 spots for like something totally fucking random to where like everybody doesn't need to be in the tournament, and I can bring in, you know, like a fucking Gangrel or a Kid Cash or Savio Vega. But like it's really just about like you know, sometimes it's about having like the best match, and sometimes it's about like what can make something, you know, drive a story forward or something, which nobody really does anymore. If you look at the majority of the indies right now, like it's just like what looks good on paper, and then it's like,
yeah, it's a lot of super card shit.
What can we do next that will look good on paper, but like, you know, none of it matters. And like, you know, that's probably like, you know, my gripe with like the AEW Dark thing is like, okay, you're gonna like burn Janela versus Omega for no reason just to put it on YouTube.
Man,
you know,
was that a fucking?
But I told him.
Can we talk about that? That was a fucking.
Well, no, it's just like because
it's great.
Though,
yeah,
they can do that. You know what I mean?
It's great, but it's like, imagine like you could have made Joey Janela over the next few months, like building to that. You know, like
point.
And it's much watched TV.
And
or
it's
pay per view,
right?
Full gear, whatever.
So like I just kind of look at it, and maybe that's just like my stubbornness of like, I don't know, like enjoying like old schoolish wrestling or whatever, to where like I think like super cards are easy, and like,
well, in this day and age, of course it's easy. Just call people and book them.
It's easy, but it's like I think it's harder to make people care about guys that nobody cared about. You know, like. And, you know, AJ Gray's an example of that, or like even a Mance Warner was in the bubble way before he was the Mance Warner you know now, you know, and like
that shit you told me earlier still blows my mind.
And it's like I don't take credit for that, but it's like, you know, I like being the stop along the way to like, instead of just being like, nah, like I'll come back to you like when somebody else has already wasted the time to, you know, make people care about you.
Coming from a fan perspective, you know, I've been going to shows, AIW shows, for about 5 years now. But I was also kind of spoiled in the sense that, like, I was a lapsed fan who got back into wrestling, you know, when CM Punk was hot. At the time, I was living in Orlando. I saw all the first few years of NXT shows. I was seeing Evolve shit. I was seeing FCW shows, all that stuff. So moving up here, and I found you guys, and, you know, like you said at the beginning, you know, you're still at Turner's Hall. You were doing these weird bookings, and you'd get Steen and, like, the Bucks and those guys, but then you'd book, you know, Robert Parker or Dennis Stamp, and that shit was kind of weird. Evolving over the years, I mean, you've definitely done a great job of developing your own talent, and at the beginning, I didn't really totally get how you booked shows. But again, I also didn't really know the indies that well. Now you guys fit really well amongst the landscape, and you kind of carved out your own niche, and you know, it's really cool. You know, it's one of those things. Now the storylines are developing, and all of us locals know the AIW regulars. Now they're starting to get outside bookings, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think like, you know, like the stuff with like the Dennis Stamp or like the Robert Parkers or whatever. It was like more like, what can we do that's weird but also like pop ourselves? Because it's like, I loved Beyond the Mat. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, Cole Cabana texted me one day and he was like, I have Dennis Stamp's number, you know? And it's just like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to call and I'm going to see what happens. And like, you know, maybe at the time, you know, it doesn't make so much sense, but like, as you fast forward years later, it becomes like this, like, super memorable time in AIW and this thing that happened to where like maybe at the time people were like, man, I don't know what the fuck is going on or who the fuck this guy in this Hawaiian shirt is, you know? But like, you know, as the time has gone on, that's like one of the, like, such a memorable moment for me. And like, you know, like I'm pretty sure I've said it on this podcast before, but like Dennis Stamp told me like the day I called him, he was considering killing himself.
Jeez. Because
like he just missed wrestling so much and like didn't understand why he'd been, you know, like removed from it for 20 something years, you know? And like, I just called him that one day and he's like, you know, he was fucking weirdo, but like, it was also an amazing experience because like, I have this fucking guy that was like this funny part of this movie reading me poems on the fucking phone, you know, for hours. You know, I'd have to talk to that guy for hours, you know, and like, Robert Parker, he was like Biggins' like favorite fucking guy. Like him and Bunkhouse Buck, when he was a kid, he like loved those guys. And it's like, I wasn't a WCW guy. I was a strictly WWF guy my whole life. So like,
Same.
I didn't really like get it, you know. But I was like, if this is what you want to do, man, like let's figure it out. And
I think that's why the Bunkhouse Buck thing recently was pretty cool too for Chris.
Yeah, and you know, and that's why we did it. And it's just like, you know, so like some stuff was kind of like more like like what are we gonna do? Because Biggins always like pushed this philosophy on me, which it you know, sometimes I would disagree with and sometimes I would agree with, but you know, he said he read like a Dutch Mantel book, and like he said, you know, you got to book for yourself because you know you're the person, you know, behind it all. So like if you care about it, you know, the hope is that other people will care about it.
Yeah, right.
So like he would just Biggins would always be like, fuck it, like let's do, you know, let's do this, you know, like let's do this or let's do that. And like, you know, sometimes stuff didn't always click because, you know, you had like especially that transitional period to where it's like you have these like super elite wrestlers that cost X amount of dollars, but like you can't have a full card of those guys because, you know, like especially in this market, like you know, like
line on that is rough.
Like, you know, we're not charging like the fucking $100 a front row like some of these other indies, so it's like you gotta fucking balance that out, you know. And it's just like, you know, sometimes you gotta put like guys out there, you know, especially in the era that, you know, Thrift Store was talking about, is where, you know, you're not going to have the fucking banger match, but like, you know, it's going to fill the spot and it's going to get to the next thing until, you know, things continue to evolve. And like, we never could have imagined that our school would have produced so many guys that are now accepted the way that they are. Like, you know, when we started the school, it was like, we need to develop this like resource, but like, who knows how long it's going to take for people to care about them. You know, like I was very like, reserved about that.
You had the foresight of doing that and loading and restocking yourself like almost like farm team per se. You had the foresight to do that, and it actually worked out because that's what you need because everyone's getting signed, and you have to have your own talent. You have to make these guys.
There was a stigma for this is just a wrestling student. Like there's a big portion of fans that don't realize that everyone starts off as a wrestling student somewhere.
Well, right. You know? And now with the way like just like with I guess you're right. Yeah.
But like people didn't understand that, and then like some people would be like, "Oh, this is a student match," or "This is a student thing," and like it took like a lot of like trying to hide students throughout the shows to where people stopped kind of like realizing it and like started kind of like, you know, that's why there was a fucking year of no consequences 5-on-5s.
Yeah.
You know, to where
none of them had like their own run right at the beginning.
Right. To like mix them in with veterans and have little showcases or like the 6-man scrambles when we do them. Like a lot of that is like what I consider AIW developmental, because it's like I'm going to take these guys that are good at like certain little things, I'm going to put them out there and they're going to do their cool stuff, and that's it. And then people are going to either take them or leave them, you know? Yeah. And like a lot of the times, you know, if they do cool enough stuff, you know, they've established themselves to where like then when they come back and they do a singles or they do a 4-way or whatever, people are like, oh man, that's, you know, Wheeler Yuta's cool, you know, or something like that.
And I think especially from a fan point of view, that class, at least the no consequences class, etc., has kind of forged their own way. We as fans have either accepted or denied them as themselves. You know, they broke up from the no consequences thing and yada yada, but those people are that class that themselves have defined themselves.
And you know, those guys
take them or leave them.
You know, those guys were
each can speak through their own. I mean,
lucky enough to have. They were all very athletic. You know, like not every class has been that way, but like, you know, you got to kind of find ways to mix people in, because that's another thing people don't realize is like these students do a lot of work, you know, like AIW takes an army of people to get things done.
Yeah.
And right. Like, you know, if we didn't have the students, like, especially at this level that we've grown to, like it would never get done, you know, like at the Odeon, we have to do so many more things than like, you know, at Turner's Hall, like the ring just stayed up all the time, you know, and like we would just show up and tighten the ropes and like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, like just the guardrail. This was actually a question somebody brought up earlier about the guardrail. With GCW, there's a lot of shows on Fight TV and yada yada. You see, there's no guardrail. You guys do a barrier around the outside. You know, that's a whole set of shit in and out. You know.
well, I'm gonna tell you why we do that because
Well, right, but I'm saying that why you do it isn't that adds a whole
a liability
round of a lot of people, of a lot of caring, a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, because I've been sued, you know what I mean, a few times, and you know what I was told by a lawyer once is if somebody goes over that it's criminal trespassing. So like, it's them breaking the law before if like a wrestler strikes them or something.
They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
I bought a ticket. I was just standing there.
Right.
Blah blah. You cross that barrier,
then
you're a fucking marked man. You
Right.
fucked up. You fucked up.
Yeah, it's trespassing. So
Right.
like, you know, like I've just at this point, you know, like I can't afford to be sued. You know, like so it's just like
who can afford to be sued, John?
I certainly can't. You know, like well, at the time when I was being at the time when I was being sued, I literally had nothing. So it's like you're gonna get nothing because I have nothing.
Well, yeah.
But you know, like I got a Kia Optima that I gotta protect, bro. So like
You gotta get
2011,
somehow, right?
2011. So you know, like I can't be letting that go. So like it's just you know like that's just things though that I've learned over time and like you know like I like a controlled wild atmosphere, but like you can, like the uncontrolled wild atmosphere where like people could get fucking hurt. Like
I don't know how they run those no barrier shit, man.
it's dangerous. Like it's dangerous, and you know like I don't know. You know I can't speak for why they do it, but like I just know that like in Cleveland, Ohio. 3 people have sued me before, so I'm gonna try to do what I can do to like.
Not to mention, you've already had multiple people try to jump the barriers and go after wrestlers and things like that.
And it's just like, I think that we're finally probably getting beyond that point, but you never know. You know what I mean? It's just like just easier that way, and also I think it just makes it look like more legit to have the barriers and everything.
Yeah.
You know, like and it's just like you know, not like you're fucking walking like when we were at Mount Carmel. It's like not like you're just like walking into a church and like you know you can go touch the ring or something.
I feel like it invites it invites bad things to happen if you don't have that barrier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. You know, so it's just like you know, it's just one of those things that I don't know. Maybe
It's a lot more manpower, and like what you're saying, it takes a lot more people. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of things that need to get done, and
you got to look at the big picture. You know, let me throw my 2 cents in. It's like the whole time I was doing all that shit.
Here we
You got to
go.
look at the big picture. You know what I mean? Like, some people might take it for granted, but me always when I'm setting up the ring or doing the guardrails or anything, you know, this is a different perspective from Maserati West. But it was just like, you know, you got to, as corny as it sounds, you got to pay your fucking dues. You know, so I am always, you know, still trying to do that because it's like, you know, without us setting up the ring or us doing the guardrails or doing concessions or something, no one can wrestle. You know what I mean? If it doesn't get set up, there's no matches. So I always take for granted what I can get in the ring and whatnot, and I'm not just trying to say that, but I'm spitting facts.
yeah, there's like you know, there's just like so many different pieces to like not even the putting the show together puzzle, just like the puzzle, you know, and it's just like of you know like who's gonna handle the meet and greet, who's gonna do the concessions, who's gonna do the door, who's you know like. Who's gonna do security? Who's gonna fucking make sure there's weapons under the ring?
Right?
Something
People
is
need
like
rides to the airport and shit.
like something as weird as showing like especially when it was Mount Carmel, showing up to the venue at the specific time, be like, okay, we're here now, like. To just literally be the guy at the door and be like, yep, we're here.
Yeah.
Open the doors now.
Yep.
Yeah, like somebody would have to go get the keys from
Yeah.
the priest and like walk up to the door and like
And there's basketball practice. You got to talk to those.
right. You gotta get the basketball practice out of there.
What about if you're a photographer sleeping in the parking lot? And
man.
they're like, who's this large man playing Pokemon?
That's a
in the
good
parking
throwback.
lot?
That's a good throwback.
I like that guy. He's nice.
He's a good dude, but you know,
I only met him a couple times, but he's a nice. guy.
Ikebon drunk, man. He takes great pictures. Takes great pictures, but that was like an incident, and like that was like
Classic.
that was one of those classic Biggins just freakouts, man.
I can only
like,
imagine.
oh my god, he
Shit.
called me like screaming, like what the
Who's
fuck?
in the parking lot sleeping?
Because he was like the venue contact guy, so he got the phone call. You know,
That's as I say. You guys always said in the earlier podcast, like you kind of had delegated responsibilities. It was you and Biggins, and you had certain things, certain guys you dealt with. And Chris was kind of like the venue guy, and I could just hear him getting that phone call. Like,
And that's the thing, and that's
Christopher, who's parked in the parking lot?
That's another thing that's like been such a kind of asset with having the school is like now that I've had to take on like basically overseeing like every single aspect of everything. It's like I cannot do every aspect of everything, so it's like I have to have like like my lieutenants, so to speak, in like mafia terms or whatever, that I could trust and go and do this stuff. And then it's just like, some people just give me an envelope of money and then, I go home. But,
No
it's just,
comment.
It's just, it's just the whole process it's evolved, but it's also stayed very similar. It's just like there's different people that have to do different things.
How do you... We talked about the one time about how there's not necessarily many people left, but like how you're booking AIW shows and how you want to book your attractions per se. Like, how are you looking into 2020 as far as like who you want to book as like your big guys? Like we have Kevin Nash for Hell on Earth. Like, how are you looking into 2020 as far as like the names you want to bring in? Are you looking
when are you going to
like,
book Ryback is the real question.
what we're trying to say is,
listen,
I book Ryback versus Josh Bishop.
Ooh, Rip City.
I've been offering to sponsor that match for a long time.
Brother, it's expensive. I'll tell you that.
Listen, Ryback's about to kill himself, so I mean, throw him $800 and be like, yo,
he ain't taking it. He has not dropped his fee.
I know.
He has not dropped his fee since he stopped.
Even
JB,
when
shout
he's
out to
doing
JB.
YouTube like food reviews, like he's eating KFC sandwiches in a parking lot.
Dude, he made a shit ton of money in WWE, so like I don't think he's hurting for cash.
No, probably not.
So like,
Especially not when he's spending $6 a sandwich.
he thinks very highly of himself. So like, he's not gonna like. He has not dropped his fee. Like every guy, like after it's a while, it's like, okay, like the fee is this right away, and then it's eventually like at this like manageable number, and like he's still the same.
He's
still the same number. So
not coming down at all, huh?
yeah. So I haven't like
JV's money match.
like the big.
Because Bishop was like, dude, we were talking about the Pod Van Dam Pro thing. I'm at my bachelor party. I'm gonna try and book wrestlers, and Bishop was like, me versus fuck, we got to book him. And I was like, I don't think I have that kind of money, dude. Like,
Get that on Fight TV.
I mean,
brother.
We'll see.
big guy.
So like
talking about it, dude. I don't know if I got that kind of cash.
I'm looking at like I said on your podcast, like I booked Adam Bomb for February.
Yeah, what's the date on that again?
Did you hear that?
2/7.
Did you
February
hear that?
My
7th.
fiance's birthday. Thanks for that, John.
Hey, I gave you the dates well in advance,
Well,
though.
what was I supposed to say?
What was that? February 7th.
Yeah,
Now hard sell mode goes on.
there you go.
Because did you hear that out there? I know you're listening to this on your way to work or at work. It doesn't matter. Adam Bomb.
I don't know if he's gonna wrestle, but we're talking.
He'll
Is
be
it an
there.
Odeon show?
Yeah,
He'll
it's an
be
Odeon.
there.
Is it going to be on Fight TV?
That is probably the plan.
Yep.
At this
Good.
point.
I might have to watch that one
February
from California.
2nd,
I might
be
be in
there.
California for that one.
There it is. February 2nd. Be there.
7th.
Be
February 7th.
2/7. February 7th, 2020.
Kate's birthday.
Be there or be squared. No squares in my circle. And you can bet on that.
But besides that, it's just kind of like taking it at a time. So like the first thing is I set all of our dates at the Odeon. That like the regular shows or whatever, like and then we set a couple in Akron, so we're gonna do 3 in Akron in 2020.
So we'll call the Odeon hard dates and Akron and other stuff Winchester like side dates, I guess.
Yeah, so like there's 3 Akron dates, and then we haven't set anything at the Odeon yet because we have to fix that other ring that we have because it broke at the last Winchester or at the Winchester.
I was going to say it broke at the show, huh?
So it's broken, and it was fixed, and then it broke again. So we have
Dr.
to.
Dan didn't fix it, did he?
He tried.
The surgeon. We call him the surgeon.
The surgeon. Yeah. So like I'm not booking too many like attractions this far out yet because we're only
But I mean,
like,
this is the season that you start thinking about that shit, right?
yeah. So like I've booked like we're gonna take January off.
Really? Again?
Yeah.
You motherfucker.
You gotta take
As
January.
we say from the fans, every fan that listens to the card is going to change right now is collectively saying, you motherfucker.
You gotta take January off.
January's my birthday. If
Harsh,
you want
brother.
January's tough. January's
booking
tough.
for my birthday.
January's tough because
Your birthday party.
you're coming out of the holidays.
Right.
You got a bad winner.
I get it. Here's what we do, though. I say, here's what we do, though. As a fan sitting at, like we're saying, you guys on that side, us on this side, you should do something like an AIW get together. There's got to be some sort of AEW date or some sort of fight TV something.
Let's do one of those softball fundraisers at Good Company where it's like $20, all you can drink.
Yeah, we'll do something. Get together, something at Good Company where we all just get together. Bullshit, everyone should. We watch something. There'll be something.
If you're
on
out there and
TV.
you're listening to this and you're interested in that, start putting the tweets out. What's the hashtag on that? Hashtag
AIW Hangout? I don't know.
AIW Hangout 2020.
January AIW Hangout, dude. If there's no show, we got to do something.
Also, we are going to run December too, by the way. December 27th.
27th,
is December day.
That's pretty typical, though. That's usually what it is,
Yeah.
the December day, right?
Yeah, next year in 2020, we don't know what we're going to do because all the holidays fall on a Friday. So it's like Christmas and New Year's Day, which I'd maybe run New Year's Day, but some people are trying to talk me out of it.
It's rough, yeah. New Year's Day is rough.
So we may end up taking December off or doing like something like Winchester style in December and not, nothing at the Odeon, but the majority of everything is booked at the Odeon through the fall right now.
Nice.
Okay.
Going back to the attractions question, is there a big name that you tried to book that just slipped through your fingers that really just sticks at you like you wish you fucking had that guy?
I mean, Walter was like hitting us up for dates like a bunch.
Damn.
And at the time it was like, we just weren't in the position to like do that fee versus everything else. And like, but he was like openly like courting us to like come work for us. And it's just like, it never worked out. And then like when I did offer him dates, he already had something. There's stuff like that. Like, as far as like big names, like, like, I don't know, like it sounds bad, but like when we booked Harley Race, like I was like, we have to do this because like, there's no way that, he's going to live for another 5 years.
Yeah, he smoked a cigarette in my car, man. That's my claim to fame.
I'm pretty sure I smelled some booze on him.
Yeah, we're pretty much boys.
But like, Harley Race was a guy that we had talked to a few times, and it was like, man, that fee is big, and like, I was just like, we just got to pull the trigger on it. Like, Kevin Nash was like a big one that like I've always wanted, and it's coming up, so
can't wait. Black Friday, be there, be square.
Outside of that, like it's really just like there's no one person that I can think of that's like, fuck, like I didn't get them,
Tom Strong Dark.
Tom Strong, we had.
He's still out. We could maybe get him, right? He's still out. He can't ever challenge for that fucking title again. Spoiler alert.
The problem with like Tom Strong Dark is like he doesn't run any of his own stuff. It's all
through like an agent thing. Or
yeah,
something?
it's all through an agent. So it's like
all you got to do is send him a letter to his school, and then he'll get it. That's what I did.
School. Send it to the school. That's what you and
yes,
them,
that was me. School. I found his address. I found the school, and I sent it to him.
We asked that on the show, but you weren't there, and we were busy. You were in New York because I want to ask you. Everyone was like, Tom Strong. Does he ever address that his name isn't Tom Strong to the students, or why you guys think his name's Tom?
He's kind of acknowledged it a little bit on Twitter. Okay. He's like liked a bunch of our tweets and maybe retweeted one or two things. Where I think he kind of gets it, but maybe I don't know. I mean, he definitely has played along a little bit.
He reads this whole letter with the stickers and all this, and he says his own name wrong multiple times, and like he never addresses
gear under his suit. We established that. At least,
I think he does, right?
Yeah. And finger tape.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one day for.
He's expensive, man.
Well, okay, like my version of expensive and your version of expensive is probably different. Like I look at like
for sure.
For who he's
ROI,
probably going to bring in, he's expensive.
ROI, though, is what it's about. Return on investment.
Yeah, exactly.
My middle name.
Wealth's coming either way, whether we book Tom Strong or not.
Maybe I'll revisit the discussions for the J-Lit weekend. We'll see.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
I do have another request, though, and this one's probably a little bit easier. the Bob Holly Nick Gage match never happened.
Ooh.
I always
And I really want that match. And I was talking to Bob's wife the other day because we did some T-shirt business.
He doesn't want to kick your ass.
He doesn't want to kick my ass, which is great. But he wants to come back to Cleveland. So
how do you like me now?
That's always like that's always on the docket to revisit, right? But it's like I go back to those puzzle pieces, and it's like, well, here's the puzzle, here's the puzzle, here's the puzzle. Well, then you got to take a piece out and then put Bob Holly in, So it's like you really got to find the right piece wherever it's in the mix. But
I already smoked Gage, dude. I already smoked him.
That's definitely
strong words. This is an MDK house, brother. It's a strong word. I love you, Wes, but careful, tiptoe.
That's an interesting request because it's something that's always in the back of my mind, and maybe I'll just try to pull the trigger on that sooner than later.
hell yeah.
Because it's funny, like Bob Holly had this like really crazy reputation, and like he was like as nice as could be.
That's why Brian was worried he wanted to kick his ass.
But what I've
Roll Sparky.
Yeah, the spark plug is
what I've heard though.
Kicking Brian's ass.
What I've heard though is like now that he's out of like the fucking war zone of the WWE, WWF, like he's really chilled out.
Yeah, well, that's what he finally got confirmation that he doesn't want to kick his ass. He's cool with it. He liked the shirt. Plus, that guy that he got to design it is like a sick ass artist. Like that dude. It was it's a legit fucking
I
shirt.
went all I did.
Bob Holly did tell me though, like when he was here, I'll never forget this. He said like sometimes he just like goes out into the woods for days at a time to make sure he could survive as a man. So like,
I read his book. He's wild. He's
that, right?
Yeah, he's wild.
yeah, that's like intense.
He
but
said
like,
he's trying to get on fucking Survivor.
That's like the episode of The Office where Michael's just like, I'm just going out there. Like
I've never
for real.
I've never
He just
seen The Office
disappears.
before.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
Parks and Rec though.
I've
I
seen
know
like
about
3
that.
episodes.
If
I'm
you
not
like
gonna lie.
Parks and Rec, that's weird. And Office is like right in the
I
wheelhouse
don't know.
of
I
that.
just missed.
Plus, don't you work in an office normally? Like, isn't like it would totally make sense to you.
I have like an office though. Where it's just like me and another person. Like I'm on like my own floor. In
It's
my
coming
office.
up on like winter and like staying in binge shit season, like winter crappy weather, and you're like a good for like hit up Facebook, like what should I watch, dude? Don't even skip that. Just hit up The Office, American Office season 1, and hit play.
I'm
and
into
go.
like the most like off-brand show that I could tell you about. I'm super into Power on Stars, 50 Cent show. Super into it, dude.
You're a 50 Cent fan.
Super into it.
Whoa.
I met him in Brook Park at that liquor store.
I was gonna say we're not fighting. Yeah, we don't want
But
to
I'm
disclose
super
too much. Yeah,
super into that show. I'm all
Studio, brother.
Right.
I'm all I gotta wait till January to see how it all ends, man.
There was people on like Brook Park Facebook page like, there's a line around the block. Brook Park's famous. Look at 50 Cent is here. It was a liquor store.
Yeah, so like, but if you bought 4 bottles, you could skip the line. So I just ponied up and bought 4 bottles of effing. And
We don't got time to wait in that line. You're a local
Right.
big shot promoter.
Yeah, that's right. I still got them unopened in my house, dude.
Of
50
course.
cent
What are we
sign,
popping
dude.
bottles?
Whoa.
50 cent
Signed?
sign, dude.
Oh,
They're
man.
signed, bro.
They're signed.
So now, okay, do you think you can run Hog is a thing now with Master P? Can we run some sort of get 50 Cent in here to invert,
I gotta
like
get
on
ahold of him. I
Hog
gotta
or
get
something?
Chingy?
Can we can like
Get
cross
Chingy?
promote? Yeah,
Yo,
like,
like,
somehow get
so,
the
like,
rap angle.
Who do you want?
So
Give
like,
away free rap snacks
I'm not
or
gonna.
something.
I'm not gonna give away too much information, but secret underground industry behind the scenes talk. I hear Master P is offering people a lot of money,
Wow.
like millions.
You worked for what was the
UWF.
company?
Urban Wrestling
Urban Wrestling
UWF.
Federation. You could probably get in there. That's
I think Melly Mel was the most famous rapper there. Like no 50 Cent, no Master P. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I hear Master P is offering some big deals.
that fucking rules.
And now I thought the Master P kind of fell down on his
Same.
luck.
No.
I looked him up to 200 million.
Bro, before
About
people forget he played for the fucking Raptors.
Yeah.
He started games for
I
the
think he
Toronto
played in his
Raptors,
spare time
bro.
too. I think he was just fucking around and playing.
That like to get the lowest NBA contract there is like a decent amount of money.
No
That
Limit,
dude
though,
did
was
that
killing
shit
it.
for fun.
No Limit
Like
was killing it in the
97.
90s, dude.
Yeah,
No Limit was killing it.
WCW, he had all his guys.
Tank
on
till I die, dude.
I had a tank in the 8th grade, bro.
Respect.
I did.
Respect.
You know who else had one? Spoiler alert. Tom Lawler.
Wow. I knew I loved Tom for a reason.
We
dude.
both had No Limit tanks. We were
I would say
texting about it the other day.
Thrift Store was the first one to be like
Epic.
first couple times you brought him around. I was like, this guy's cool. Brian was Thriftstore was like, dude, this is our fucking guy, dude.
Well, I already listened to him on Observer,
guy.
so
I had a
I don't-
Raptors crap shirt.
I don't listen to Tom. I knew nothing of Tom from the Observer.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, this guy's from UFC, and like he always brings it up, all pissed off. But so at the same time that I was like, oh, like maybe we should book this guy because he was in the UFC. Like the only reason why, Dom was pitching me this like character vignette of himself, and we eventually released it like differently, but like it had like a Joe Rogan fucking podcast, fucking like voiceover or whatever, and he's talking about Robbie Lawler. So I was like, when I went to message Tom Lawler, I was like, hey Robbie.
Mistaken that
Yeah,
name, really?
because I had just listened. No, I knew it was Tom Lawler, but
you just slip of the tongue or something.
slip of the tongue, and he has never let me live that down.
Wow.
He says it. Nobody really knew. Nobody really knew what he was talking about except for me. But when he wins at Slumber Party Massacre, he mentions it in his fucking speech.
He says something about Robbie at the end there. Yeah.
But yeah, Tom Lawler, I knew nothing about him. I'm an observer or anything.
That speech at the end that he gave, man, this side of the fence again, fans' perspective, New Jersey, we were hammered. Thursday night.
Yeah,
that was the night I paced myself that night. I did not.
I did to a certain extent, but by the time AIW went down and it was over, and man,
I got worse and worse. I missed the spring break night too. I passed out, and after the AIW party, I blacked out and just missed.
Yeah, that was
Finnegan's, dude. I forgot about Finnegan's pub. Dude.
Shout out to the fucking Goldsteins, bro.
Yeah, really.
Mysterious benefactors.
Dude, they fucking flipped the bill for that whole thing. That was crazy.
Weird Body got kicked out.
Love those guys. Both of them. Sam and Josh. Both of them.
I told Josh that I like Sam better because Sam is a little bit more cutthroat, and I like that. You know, Josh is just too friendly.
You had to play that card though too. Josh asked the question. You got to like slice it. You know, you got to play that.
I like I like a cutthroat guy every now and then. I like a guy that operates in the shadows, like Sam Goldstein.
I feel it.
But yeah, things are going. Things are going with the Goldsteins.
They're coming for. Speaking of the Goldsteins, they're coming for Hell on Earth.
I know. They're. I hope. My hope for Hell on Earth is like we could pack that fucking Brook Park Rec Center.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think it's a bigger venue than we are used to. I'll say we as just AIW as a community.
It's
bigger overall,
way,
just like in
way
a bubble.
bigger.
Because it's just it's a fucking gymnasium. It's like
big.
literally my hometown fucking city's gymnasium. It packs fucking people in. There's like an elevated track and shit. But we went for that real shoot bullshit, and like they barely drew shit, and it was still a good crowd. So if we get our crowd in there, we can make that place fucking rock. And I think if we sell it the way that you're trying to sell it,
Front row's already sold out. That's a good sign.
Spread the word. I mean, people complain about driving this or driving that. Dude, it's at the fucking heart of 71 and 480 right there.
5 minutes from the airport.
Where you live, there is a fucking easy drive to get to where the Brook Park Rec Center is, dude. There are no
free
excuses.
parking.
The parking lot is enormous. There's the police station is across the street. Don't worry about it. I don't want to go to the brewery. It's dangerous. The Brook Park Rec Center, the fucking police station is across the street. Everyone's fine. Show up to fucking Hell on Earth. Don't be cowards.
Yeah.
Let's fucking pack this place.
Kevin Nash, and we're trying something out for the November events since they're in different venues. Like we're doing like group tickets at a reduced price for like to try to get kind of like people to bring those like so-called lapsed fans that they know or whatever the fuck.
I think there's a lot of people that bring at least 6 or more, like you're saying for the group ticket rate. And I think there's a bunch of people who come as
in
groups.
Brook Park. It's only 4. If you got 4 or more, you're in for a discounted rate.
Like how you guys kind of incorporated the stage seating at the Odin and kind of made that different ticket bracket. I think the group thing is just as smart because there's tons of people who come as groups like that.
Yeah, and like I realize like. Dude, like I don't want to spend money to do things, so like I can only imagine how like everyone else is with like how they juggle their entertainment dollar. So I just try to make it like affordable to where it's like it works, for both ends. Like I'm not fucking raking in this giant profit, but like I'm covering what I got to cover, and then people also can afford that. We're gonna do 2 shows in November. You know what I mean? Like
if you're not doing one October, dude, you got to do 2 in November. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's that's kind of the plan going forward is like We'll do an Akron and a Hell on Earth in November.
Eventually, we're gonna break you down, and we're gonna do like a Halloween Havoc October show at like maybe it'll just be the Winchester. Or something,
We did Winchester. We did Winchester. I think last October.
Yeah, I beat the Duke, dude. I'm the fucking.
Got to do some sort of Halloween Havoc type deal.
October last year.
But my thought was especially with adding the 2 in September, like we needed to take the breather in October because
the Janela thing was the wrench in the gear per se. But thank you for that. As like I said, as this side of the fans. It sucked that he did not show for the Absolution thing. Obviously, we know why. I'm not mad at him, but the fact that you made good on that, or AIW and Joey both, is pretty fucking sweet. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy that we were able to make it work, and like the Winchester, I thought was like a safe bet for that, for that to happen at, because like it's just more affordable for us to be able to do things at the Winchester sometimes, like on a weeknight.
I think that place rules, especially with the $5. It's $5 to have your early entry and a seat per se.
Best seat in the house.
So I mean, you're talking about a $25 show on a weekday. Something
Plus
I
a
think
couple
you could
drinks.
even run that place on a Friday or Saturday if they didn't have a band booked or something.
Well,
I know that's why they usually don't do Friday or Saturday.
That's the thing is like
I think you could and still be in a good position.
They have so much, because I think we did a Saturday last October, but they've booked so much stuff in advance that they were
it's
like,
a great room.
they were like,
really is.
hey, like
Especially for music.
we have Thursdays or Sundays, and I thought Thursday was better than a Sunday.
I personally think Thursday night shows are fucking sick, especially for the AIW crowd. Like you guys were saying for the last one, it was like that. It was a summer night. It was a Thursday when you said we drank them out. We had a record drink out or whatever. Yeah, Sakimoto. I love it. The Thirsty Thursdays, man. It's
Yes, sir.
It ruins me for the rest of the weekend as an old man, but it's a fucking
I just
time
think
on Thursday.
I think people are more inclined to go out on a Thursday than a Sunday.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
For sure.
What do you got going on, Wes? You checking your Twitter?
I just wanted to see what's up. I got 450 notifications. None of you motherfuckers can relate.
The limo
on that.
driver's probably out front telling him fucking she's texting him like,
The
"Man, am I just
Maserati.
hanging out here or what?"
Cut that.
So yeah, as we wind it down,
Hot November coming up. Don't forget December 27th, is it?
that's correct.
Bring
I was like,
20 right.
I was really trying to get Jushin Liger. Like I've been trying hard,
Oh, bombshell alert.
but New Japan announced that he will be retiring at the November event in America. So like, I'd been on that one for like 2 months trying, and like I kept getting the like.
You tried a couple years ago too, right?
Yeah, I just keep getting kind of like the runaround on it, and it's just
Always
like.
got a trick up his sleeve.
So I don't know what I'm going to do for an attraction for that, but I don't. Like, it is what it is at this point.
I can't.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I can't even imagine like what a dud would be. Like every attraction you have, you're like, God damn, like man, that's pretty good. Like even to say like, well, maybe they're due for a dud. Like it's probably
I'll
be
tell you
some-
my ideas off
It'd
the
probably
record.
still be someone sweet. Like even so, like that you can't fucking satisfy everyone. You can't satisfy Twitter. As we
But
know
me-
on Pod
but
Van
speaking
Dam,
of
you fucking
Twitter,
always
though,
gonna have
me-
someone complain.
Yeah, but me and you talked about this last week. It's like a week in wrestling is like 10 years.
Right?
you know
Yeah.
what
The,
I mean?
the
So it's like-
timeline on it. Right.
And
Exactly.
even going back to what we were talking about earlier with PWG and this, that, and the other, it's like, someone can blow up, but in literally 2 hours, someone could do something that's
takes the
or
spotlight
Superhuman
away.
can
Or
do
right.
a fucking backflip and people love it. I don't know who the fuck that guy is, but
Fuck
Shit.
this shit.
yeah, there you go.
So I guess as we wind it down, is there anything else you guys want to cover? Or
Yeah, hit a rapid fire. dude.
I hate to sound like this guy and be a homer, and I'm sure people probably out there as fans maybe have something to complain about, but I don't. I love AIW. I think it fucking rules.
Hell yeah.
I think I think the thing is like I am more of a critic of AIW than probably any critic of AIW could be.
Yeah, well, I think that's evident. That's always, especially for anyone who listens to this podcast, I think that's very evident.
like I hate like everything, or even if something's good, like it could always be better, but like it's never really that bad because like people keep coming, but it's just like I want one day I want something to go off like as like perfection, you know what I mean? And like I think that's impossible, but I think if I got complacent, like things would just go to shit.
Well, since you've taken over the role, after Biggins passed, But do you finally feel comfortable in that, complete owner in charge of everything, have to make all the decisions? Is that something you have finally, matured and, feel good in that spot?
That's an interesting question. Because like I was always so scared to have access to money. You know what I mean? Just because
that's what you said. You always separated. You'd never wanted to know the money stuff.
Because like
it's so funny to even think about.
I wouldn't want to know because like if I wouldn't want to know the reality of how bad it was going or if there was money left over because like most of the time it was like a bad reality. But like I didn't want to have access to a big pot of money because it was like during times where I was going out every Friday and Saturday night, and like I'm going to like strip clubs and fucking going to bars and like like
John Gracie,
like just like doing like all kinds of just crazy stuff through my 20s. And then when I took it over and like I was just like, man, like we could be doing this and this and this, and like there was a crazy amount of debt, like $18,000 we were in debt, like something crazy like that. Like it was big debt because we had been the
company itself is in that much debt.
Yeah, because we had been like PayPal will give you a loan if you do so much business.
That's what I was gonna say. How do you get into debt that much?
I have a huge PayPal credit.
Yeah, so like they'll give you like they gave us like $18,000.
Wow.
So then we would take that and blow it, and then like you got to still pay it back. You know what I mean? And like what they do is like it's not like a traditional loan. Like they take money out of every transaction that you do.
Yeah.
Like a percentage until it's paid back. So like that's when like I really kind of buckled down and I was like, okay, we're gonna do these meet and greets and we're gonna do this stuff and like
formed in the traditional AIW show, how you have like an attraction and a meet and greet and an after party and
to try to build that up. You know what I mean? And like just like get it to where it's like manageable, because like if it got to the point to where it was at and like it was like go to the bank, because like there was plenty of times where me and Biggins would be like, shit, like you go get 500, 200, like ask your fucking dad for some money, like like I could not do that at this point anymore. So it's like I was like, I need to like figure out how to like manage this and like the developing the students more and like quit bringing in like these random carloads of people that nobody cares about, you know what I mean? Like, and just really looking at it, like now it's become like an obsession to like keep our like profitability at a certain level and like
that formula.
And like Pedro, like I could not do it without Pedro, because Pedro deals with like so much stress of like, and like I cannot praise Pedro enough, because like the day that Biggins went to the hospital, he was like, I'm coming, because he had retired, he had a kid, he was done. He was
kind of done and out.
He was out, and the day that Biggins went to the hospital, he said, "Hey, I'm coming Friday because I know that you couldn't trust anybody else to handle the money."
Yeah, what show was that?
It was a gauntlet. It was a gauntlet for the gold.
You have to say it was Gauntlet in March, right?
Yeah, it was a gauntlet in March. Because Matt Justice always says that Biggins never got to see him make his return to AIW, because like that was the show that he was a mystery guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I've become comfortable with it, and like like I can fully manage it, and to where maybe before I probably could have, but like I just doubted myself in the fact that like I was irresponsible, or like maybe wanted to believe that I was more irresponsible than I was.
Sure.
Like
you're probably blind to it yourself.
As like a defense mechanism of like
right.
It's like we were talking off air, like, I don't feel like my dad probably felt at 35 years old. I still feel like still feel like a teenager most of the time. So, it's like hard to be like, hey, I'm going to manage a loan that's worth $18,000. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's astronomical to me, to where like I have a decent job, but it was like getting by, like salary. So it's like I couldn't, if one show went bad, I couldn't be like, no problem, guys, I got it. Like I'm
you can't just foot that bill.
I can't foot the bill anymore. Right. So when Biggins and I were footing the bill, it was like not that bad. You know what I mean? Like
it's easier with someone else to shoulder it with.
Right.
But then when he was gone, it was all on you.
And there was times where there was 4 people footing the bill, and you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
So like it wasn't that bad. Like it's eventually evolved, and like it does suck. Like sometimes like I think like when I'm bored at home, it's like, you know, this is when fucking me and Biggins would be on the phone, or like me and Biggins would be talking, or like something fucking funny happens in wrestling, and it's like he'd be all over this, you know what I mean? Or he'd be going. So like that's probably like the weirdest part is like I've replaced what he does with like all these people, but it's also like not the same at the same time, you know? Like
Sure.
Chris did a lot of things at once.
Well, he did, and it was just also like we were on the same wavelength. Like we could talk without talking. You know, we could look at each other, and we would know something or whatever. And it's like, you know, now I realize like all the stress that he was putting on himself,
Sure.
in exchange to not let me get stressed out, which is like, you know, it's kind of like it makes you feel somewhat selfish in a way at times, because it's like
He was taking the brunt of it.
He was taking the brunt of it because he knew like because I'd been involved in wrestling for such a long time at that point, like I was totally okay with walking away at certain times.
And he came in as he was
a fan,
said recently, he was a guy who fucking busted balls so bad that they were like, holy shit, we need to get this guy on our side.
Yeah,
because
sign him,
he fucking
basically.
talk so much shit and is murdering people
deal.
from the stands.
Yeah.
We need this guy on our side.
So like,
deal.
you know, so at that point, you know, like I'd been involved in wrestling for years, but like he hadn't. So like, you know, it was everything to him, to where, you know, I've had like personal life, like a girlfriend and a job and all this other stuff. And it's like, you know, sometimes if you're with the wrong girl, it's very hard to manage, you know? So it's like, it puts a lot of stress on it. So it's like, I got to walk away. I got to go do this. Like this girl wants me to get this job if she's going to stay with me or make this much money.
And Biggins just was there taking care of it.
And Biggins was like, you know, like, dude, there were times where like we're down like 2-3K and we're at intermission, you know, and like, and it's just like hustling and like
selling DVDs,
selling
like shirts,
always
selling,
hustling.
just hustling nonstop. So it's like
WWE magazines, you know, figures, just anything.
Always hustling.
So like, I guess like, you know,
which is funny because then you'll hear stories about like Dustin, Alberti, or like handful of people that just have been around and like show up halfway through, like, or just whatever, like, he'll go in. He would just let people,
because he was also nice.
He was always at the front, and you were always at the
right.
side,
Yeah,
you
Biggins
know?
was front of house.
Yeah, I was
but
like back of the house.
He took care of an AIW fan, like how we were talking about earlier, about how now us as fans is just a weird kind of community of people who kind of all like look out for each other.
And I know this has been like a long explanation and an answer, but I think he kind of pushed that forward because him and Pedro came from the crowd. Like he came in first.
He was a fan talking shit.
And then Pedro was his buddy from Cleveland All Pro crowds. And then he brought Pedro in, and Pedro was like a security guy and like a logistics guy, and like eventually became a ring announcer. But like that fact that, you know, people would show up late and he'd be like, just go in, you know, like me, I would be like, what are you doing? You know, but like to him, like he realized that we're building long-term support and a foundation.
Certain people. He wasn't just letting everyone in.
Right. If you were like some shit talker guy that showed up, like he'd be like, "Fuck, you got to pay double," you know. But like,
right. Yeah,
sure,
Biggins. Yeah,
for sure.
But like, you know, I think that his mentality and like how he developed such a bond with every single person that came through the door, I think that really kind of helped this modern era of AIW and what it's evolved into, because it is like a community now, and like.
Right.
It's very strange to explain to people that it is such like this close bond among so many different walks of life. It's like,
well, I think even bringing it back with talking about Josh and Sam, they came from fucking New Jersey,
right?
And got like, I want to say they sat by us on to the right of us, like when the walkway at Mount Carmel was, you know, in the back there. Me and Brian sat where Hard Cam shoots from. They sat to our right, and we just hung out with them the whole time. Hey, you know, and they were just like, the AIW crowd is so endearing that, you know, we may be a bunch of loudmouth assholes, but we're also like, you know, lovable, endearing assholes, I guess. You know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like. it's really amazing because, like, you know, myself and like Josh Prohibition always talk about, like, you know, backstage at wrestling would show like society like so many lessons because so many different beliefs and walks of life commingle in our friends. And I think it's kind of getting to that point in the crowd as well because there's so many different types of people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have like Jonah, who is like this business restaurateur guy, you know,
I
and
like that we're putting Jonah in this upper echelon of like,
but I'm saying
owner
like
business because he is, but at the same time, it's
he is, you know what I mean? And then like you'll have like a fucking guy that like takes the bus to the show, you know what I mean? And like everyone's like getting along and like knows each other and they're going to good company and they're hanging.
That's what's funny about Jonah though, is because he's like, I don't know, I've just known him forever, and he would think of himself, even though he owns good company and he like is this guy does the after parties and blah blah, he still just thinks that he's just a fan that comes to the shows too. Like he doesn't even like when you've given him a couple like free entries because they do the like, and he has to like he's like hit me up like, can you ask John if I can get in? Like he doesn't want to like bother you like. Oh, can I get in for free?
Like,
he's
and I'm like
a regular guy.
And I
like,
explained
he
to
just
him,
thinks of himself as
I'm like,
just
dude, you're giving us
fan,
this, like, you're like giving us this sponsorship. You know what I mean? Like, I could let you come in to the show. You know, like you don't have to give me like a sponsorship pay and then like a ticket. You know, like not that greedy of a person. You know, like
right. But it's just funny because he himself like thinks about like he doesn't want to be like. Oh, like he owns the place. Oh, I'm a sponsor. I'm walking in that. Like he like, oh, hey, hit up Thorne. Make sure I can come in, right? Like,
yeah, and like it's just, you know, it's interesting how things have evolved and like, you know, like we were talking earlier, and it's like, you know, I hear these rumblings of like these different companies that want to run in Cleveland or do these different things, and it's like that's fine, but like. Just because AIW has a fan base doesn't mean that you're going to have a fan base because, like, we've spent years cultivating it and, like, developing relationships with the fans, you know? Like,
you can put whoever you want on a card. That doesn't mean people are going to show up.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand about Cleveland. You know, that may work in Philadelphia or New Jersey or California.
Yeah, where there's 9 promotions and shows going on every weekend. But in Cleveland...
Yeah, it's just a different story, and it's a different type of people. And, like, you know, I'm very happy. I've never felt secure in all of my years of AIW. I always feel like the world is crumbling. But, like, heading into 2020 with how, you know, we've kind of built things up and where we're at and getting things planned in advance, like, I feel somewhat comfortable for kind of the first time. And, you know, since we started, I've never felt like any sort of stability, and I kind of feel it finally.
There it is.
Which is crazy to feel that in this tumultuous time, but at the same time, you guys have just carved out such a niche that, like, realistically, I don't think it's going anywhere for a while.
Yeah, like, the only thing is like, oh, maybe, like, some, like, kind of fair weather fans will, like, be like, I'm saving my money to go to fucking StarCast instead of coming to AIW, but, like, I think for the most part, we have, like, a really good core fan base that supports us, whether it be live or, you know, on DVD or video or whatever, and it's like, I'm not that worried, you know, like.
I mean, just think of like going to the show in Jersey. I mean, the first 20, 30 people in line were all people we all knew, like all just locals. Like Pedro knew, oh, you guys, let us all fucking go to the front of the line. Like, how many other companies had locals travel that far out?
I don't know, like all these promotions have these like grand ideas of like world domination, and like I just want to fucking exist in Cleveland, you know, like.
I think that's the smartest plan.
You know, like it may be Akron sometimes, but like I don't have any, like I don't, you know, it's not 2005. I don't think I'm recreating ECW anymore. You know, I just want to have a cool thing in Cleveland, like once or twice a month, and like, you know, it can last for a long time. And
I think AIW is doing a brilliant job of giving their fans their money's worth and their expectations worth.
Nice.
And you know, that's the thing is like I try to have realistic expectations. Like, you know, like I just said, I don't want to take the fucking world over. I don't want to fucking do a show in fucking Wyoming or something. You know, like I just want to have shows in Cleveland.
You do. I guess it'll be I'll bring that point up. I hate to kind of keep dragging it up. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but you keep asking on like Facebook and Twitter, etc., social medias about expanding to other markets, you're talking about, keeping everyone in Cleveland happy. How serious are you talking about, like, finding newer, bigger places?
I'm thinking about, like, I'm not thinking about, like, going far. I'm thinking about, like, Toledo or Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus. Yeah.
You know, like, I'm thinking about, like, regional as opposed to, like,
I think Toledo and Columbus both are personally pretty. I think you could even maybe run Youngstown
or like Lake County or something.
Well, Toledo's nice because you've got Detroit and Indianapolis are both kind of within driving distance, and then from here it's like a little over an hour or so. So I mean, you can kind of get a few different cities.
But even with those, with those things, it's like an Akron thing. It's like, okay, we've done 2 shows a year in Akron. Now in 2020 we're gonna try 3.
Yeah.
But it's like if we can get like another market to where we do 1 or 2, it's just like more content and more things, but it's also not that much of a task for like the fan base, like
Sure.
And that's a thing that I really consider. It's like, okay, like, so we're staying out of Cleveland from March until J-Lit because I feel that maybe the shows so quick affect the J-Lit ticket sales. Mm-hmm. So now in 2020, there is going to be no May event in Cleveland at all.
Okay.
So it's like
Akron or
potentially Akron, but it's like, or maybe we could try somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't want to burn everybody out, but like also I know that there are people that would travel if it's reasonable, like to where if it's like an hour or 2 hours.
I think most of the AIW faithful would travel at least an hour.
But like the plan is like if we can get into a new place, it's like maybe we can create, 50 to 100 new fans, and then who knows what becomes of that.
I would think as a fan it would be fun to create another, not necessarily say weekend like J-Lit where there's 2 shows, but another show AIW where we had to go to like Toledo or Columbus and like, we're from Brook Park, Cleveland, West Park area, yada yada. We'd have to get like a hotel for Columbus. I mean, you could drive back, but I wouldn't want to after an AIW show. I'd rather, get a hotel room, weekend and whatever is where we go to Columbus.
And and that's the thing. It's like, I really take into consideration the experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's not only like the show. It's like the after party. It's like it's everything. So like, that's why I'm also like very hesitant to be like, hey, like fucking club that I'm talking to in Toledo, like I'm all in.
Yeah.
Because like, there's different factors. It has to be right. And so I like doing those posts on Facebook and stuff just to gauge like where people are, where
see
people want.
Say. Everyone keeps saying, what do they keep saying in Columbus? Express Live or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a big ass venue.
That's where like NXT runs.
Yeah, it's a big ass venue, right?
So, I've emailed them. They haven't hit me back. So like,
what do you want for the room?
Right. It's just like all I can do is send an email and see what happens.
Sure.
But like Lake County is a place that I would like to do, like not Tequila Jack's Lake County, like maybe
that's
like
up for sale. You want to buy it?
Yeah, I saw that.
Sonny, dude.
Absolute Intense World?
Send it to Rick Nelson. Maybe he's going to purchase it. Ooh. UXWA Arena. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But as I guess we can wind it down because we've gone well over an hour at this point.
Say you're probably hating me.
No, I love it. I think it's a good conversation.
Well, thanks for having me / us on.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
We'll have to throw a Worldwide on to give the Thrift Store Jobber his proper introduction to the podcast.
That promo code is Worldwide. To this day, not one use. Not one use.
Really?
Wow. Still active. So if people want to use it.
It's like Ed, like Pat Van Dam. Ed has like bought shirts off. He bought that one for like tie-dye shirt and blah blah. Like he could have entered that code.
Well, no, that was his, he hit me up for that. But no, like I'll say this too. So I sponsor I also do like motorsports apparel now, and I sponsor another like NASCAR podcast that gets the biggest names, biggest legends in the sport, and that gets like 30,000 listeners a week. I have a promo code for that. 6 months, no uses for that either.
Wow.
So it's like it's so fucking weird.
Use those promo codes, people.
Yeah.
Promo
Worldwide,
code
what do you get,
sucks.
15%
What is
off?
it, man? Let's
10%
come up with
off.
a sweet
10%
ass,
off
like come up with
worldwide.
something new.
Yes, speedwaytsj.etsy.com, worldwide promo code, save 10%.
Yes, sir.
There it is.
Do you
So
want to bring it all back around?
let's give it a shot.
All right, well, let me do the sponsors again. Shout out to Angela's Pizza, the best pizza in Cleveland. Thanks again for sponsoring us every show. Come check it out. Tell them Wesley Presley sent you. Shout out to Smart Mark Video, the best camera crew for years, and they're still rocking and rolling. And last but certainly not least, shout out to Independent Wrestling. Use code ABSOLUTE for 20 days free. I can't believe that. That's an unreal deal.
We get a little kickback on that too.
We
so.
get a little kickback on that, so I appreciate it.
Some people
everyone
have
else.
used that promo code.
Hell yeah.
'Cause I got a couple
started off a
PayPals.
little slow, but I'm bringing it back home fast and furious, just like my dude, Toretto. You know what I'm saying? So I'm joining.
R.I.P. Paul Walker.
Rest in peace, Paul Walker. We're going to end it on that.
Jeez
Thanks
Louise.
to Thrift Store Jobber. Thanks to Ronald Double Deuce, Ronald Two Legs.
Is that how do I? Should I
Ronald
say
Two
my
Legs?
Twitter or something? I don't.
Do you wanna
I don't
give
really
them
want
Twitter
people to
shout-out?
find me
Go for it.
anyways.
All right, yeah, you guys do your things.
Thriftstore Jobber, Instagram, TS Jobber, Twitter, speedwaytsj.etsy.com.
I'm at. You can call me Ron. You probably see me, Ronald Two Legs.
Ronald Double Deuce. I'm Maserati West. You already know. Strutting and rutting.
Strutting and cutting.
Strutting and cutting ladybugs.
All right.
It's
Well,
lady rugs, whatever it is. John Thorne, Wes Barkley, AIW. The card's going to change. Thanks to everyone that listened. Don't forget November 27th, Black Friday.
29th, brother.
November 29th, Black Friday. Don't forget Kevin Nash. Josh Bishop's taking that belt off fucking Filthy Tom. We'll be in touch.
Spicy take.
All right. Thanks.